Hello, everybody, and welcome to week number 4. So, just a few things I wanted to talk about as you embark on week number 4. The first of which is that this is a big week because it's the literature review week, and it's due, of course, at the end of week number 4 on Sunday evening. So, we talked a lot about the literature review last Thursday night on the optional Zoom call. And if you weren't on the call, there is a recording of that call in the course news and bulletins, an audio version of it. So you may want to go back and take a look because I talked a lot about Lit Review. People asked some questions. So if you weren't there, no problem. The Zoom calls are always optional, but I would advise you to take a look because I think that may deepen a little bit of your understanding of what to do for this week. In addition, just a reminder, in the course news and bulletins, there's a couple different files there to help you along with your lit review that's due at the end of this week. One is there's something called sample lit review to consider for your week 4 assignment, and that's actually some writing of mine that you may want to take a look at. And then there's another file there called more info on the week 4 assignment. Please read. Just a reminder, of course, lit review is due, and even the DQs this week really talk about the lit review as well. As I mentioned on the optional Zoom call, this lit review you're doing for week 4 with some extra editing after you get my feedback, after you hand it in, is the same one you're going to use in week 7 as part of your proposal. So back to the theme of no self-plagiarism in the course. So you're building a foundation here for your week 7 assignment, and you're going to be able to use the same lit review. You're not going to write a new one for week 7. You're going to get some feedback after you hand it in week 4 and hand it in sort of again in week 7 as part of a larger project. So just to talk a little bit about week 4, much like the other weeks, there is an activity that I'd like you to do in week 4 that does not have to be handed in. It's called Unit 4, Activity 1, and it asks you to select one of your articles you're using for your lit review and then ask yourself a number of questions. And by a number, I mean there's 14 there. I counted the number of bullets, so 14 is a lot of questions. And actually, by doing this, you're going to be able to engage in DQ number 1 this week, because DQ number 1 says, post a summary of what you've learned from completing Activity 4, Activity 1, Unit 4, Activity 1. How will this information assist you in writing a critical literature review? Be sure to connect this to the readings and other other sources. So if it was me for DQ number 1, I would do the activity and say, okay, overall, what's something I could take from it? There's 14 questions, that's a lot. I might focus on 1 or 2 of those questions and put those in the DQ. No one's expecting you to put answers to 14 questions in the DQ. You'd never hit the 300 word limit anyway. So think about how you can do Unit 4, Activity 1, which you don't need to pass in. That's for your own notes and growth. But take some of that, and you don't need to reinvent the wheel here. You can take some of that and use it to answer DQ1 this week. So DQ2 says explain the importance of including both congruent and opposing findings from authors in your lit review. Discuss how the findings in the literature help to shape your view and address your research question. So I think from the chapter reading this week, the required reading, which I put some notes on, and it's in the course news and bulletins, if you take a look at the 2 files I gave you to provide some assistance, it's all about comparing and contrasting. And, part of a really good lit review is staying away from just summarizing a bunch of articles. I mean, anybody can go and read abstracts. You don't need to summarize it for the reader. What you need to do is say, okay, I've read a number of pieces of literature on a topic, and here are some similarities between them. Here are some differences between them. Here are some gaps that I see that they didn't address. So those are good elements of a critical literature review, as opposed to just summarizing a bunch of articles. And DQ2 really speaks to that when it talks about the importance of including both congruent and opposing findings. So I see that very similar to what I'm saying with comparing and contrasting. Also in this week, when you take a look in the course resources section for unit number 4, when I go into the textbooks, articles, and other resources, there's a very thorough PowerPoint presentation on writing a literature review as well. So I hope that's of assistance to you. So hope you have a great week. I know it's going to be a lot of work working on the Lit Review. I appreciate your efforts. If you have any questions, just let me know. You can email me, send a chat message within the Moodle, whatever works for you. And just a reminder, folks, that what you're doing this week for this Lit Review is going to pay huge dividends in week 7 for your final proposal, and is going to pay huge dividends in your capstone, because I bet a lot of what you're putting in the week 4 assignment will find its way into your final capstone, really. Again, you don't need to reinvent the wheel and create a new Lit Review down the road. So there's going to be times this week where it's going to feel, oh my goodness, this is a lot of work. But remember, you are doing things now that are going to assist you with your final capstone project. I would argue you're writing a piece of it right now. So just keep that in mind and stay motivated. Hope you have a great week, and let me know if you need anything. Take care, folks.